Every parent knows the sound of their child's voice. The laughter. The questions. The endless stories about school, friends, dreams, games, and little moments that seem ordinary today but become treasured memories tomorrow. Sometimes it is a child shouting from another room, "Mom, Dad, come and see this." Sometimes it is a story that takes 10 minutes to explain even though the entire event lasted less than a minute. Sometimes it is laughter coming from the hallway. Sometimes it is an argument between siblings. Sometimes it is a child repeating the same joke for the 5th time because they still think it is funny. These sounds become part of the home. Parents become so familiar with them that they barely notice. Until one day, the sound begins to disappear. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Slowly. A little less talking. A little less laughter. A little more time spent alone. A bedroom door that stays closed longer. A child who once told you everything suddenly answers every question with one word. And before anyone fully realizes what is happening, the child who once filled the home with energy becomes someone everyone barely hears. Daniel was 13 years old. To everyone who knew him, Daniel was the child who brought energy wherever he went. He loved football. He loved drawing. He loved making people laugh. And he loved telling his parents everything. Even the smallest details. Especially the smallest details. Daniel could turn an ordinary school day into an adventure. He could spend 20 minutes explaining something that happened during a 5-minute lunch break. He remembered jokes. He remembered conversations. He remembered exactly what his teacher said. And when he came home, he wanted someone to hear all of it. "Mom, guess what happened today?" "Daniel, you haven't even taken your shoes off. This one is important. You always say that." "No, seriously. You have to hear this." His mother would laugh. "Daniel, you have a story for everything." And Daniel would smile. Because sharing his world made him feel important. It made him feel loved. It made him feel heard. These conversations may seem small. Parents may not remember every story. They may not remember which friend scored the winning goal. They may forget what happened during mathematics class. They may forget the joke Daniel told at dinner. But children often remember something different. They remember who listened. They remember who looked up from their phone. They remember who stopped what they were doing. They remember the feeling that their voice mattered. Children do not only need food, clothing, shelter, and education. They need connection. They need emotional safety. They need to feel that someone wants to understand their world. Then one day, something changed. There was no argument. No warning. No announcement. Daniel simply became quieter. At first, the change seemed insignificant. The front door opened after school. Usually everyone knew when Daniel was home. There would be footsteps. A bag falling somewhere it should not be. A voice calling from the hallway. "Mom, I'm home." But that afternoon. Silence. Front door opens. Soft footsteps. School bag placed quietly against the wall. Bedroom door closes. "Daniel." "Yes." "Welcome home. How was school?" "Fine." One word. A simple answer. His mother looked toward the hallway. Something felt different. But only briefly. Maybe he was tired. Maybe school had been stressful. Maybe he had homework. And like many parents, she returned to the busy routine of the day. The next day, it happened again. And the next. Daniel stopped telling stories. Dinner became quieter. His answers became shorter. "Daniel, how was football today?" "We didn't play." "Why?" "I don't know." "You don't know?" "I just didn't play." "Are you okay?" "Yeah." "Are you sure?" "I'm fine." There it was again. Fine. One of the safest words a struggling child can use. Because fine ends the conversation without revealing anything. But sometimes behind the word fine is a child carrying something they do not know how to express. Sometimes fine means, "I don't know where to begin." Sometimes it means, "I'm afraid you won't understand." Sometimes it means, "I don't want to worry you." Sometimes it means, "I'm embarrassed." Sometimes it means, I wish you would ask again. Over the next few weeks, Daniel changed more. His football boots stayed untouched. His sketchbook remained closed. His pencils gathered dust. The boy who once rushed outside to play began spending most afternoons inside his room. The child who once filled every quiet space with conversation now seemed comfortable saying nothing. His mother began noticing little things. The untouched football. The unfinished drawing. The closed bedroom door. The meals Daniel barely finished. The smile that disappeared almost as quickly as it appeared. A quiet bedroom. Daniel sits on the edge of his bed while his football boots, sketchbook, and drawing pencils sit unused nearby. One evening, Daniel's mother walked past his bedroom. The door was almost closed. She stopped. Something inside told her not to keep walking. She knocked. Daniel. Yeah. Can I come in? Okay. She entered. Daniel was lying on his bed staring at his phone. You've become very quiet lately. I'm okay. Are you sure? Yes. Silence filled the room. His mother waited. Daniel said nothing. Eventually, she stood. Dinner will be ready soon. As she walked toward the door, Daniel looked up. For a moment, one afternoon, someone took a photograph of Daniel without his permission. The picture was posted in a group chat. Someone added a joke. Then another person commented. Then another. Laughing emojis filled the screen. Daniel sat alone in his bedroom reading the messages. He switched off his phone. But turning off the screen did not turn off the words. They stayed with him. Should I tell someone? What if everyone finds out? What if things get worse? What if mom worries? What if dad tells me to ignore them? What if they think I'm weak? Sometimes children do not hide their struggles because they do not trust their parents. Sometimes they hide because they are afraid of what happens after they speak. The next morning, Daniel stood in front of the mirror before school. For the first time, he looked at himself through the eyes of the children who had been mocking him. He adjusted his shirt. Then adjusted it again. He looked at his face. His hair. His shoes. Things he had never worried about before suddenly seemed wrong. That is one of the dangers of repeated cruelty. Eventually, a child may begin repeating the bully's words inside their own mind. That evening, Daniel came home and walked toward his room. His mother watched him. This time, she did not call after him from the kitchen. She followed. She knocked gently. Daniel. Yeah. Can I sit with you for a while? Okay. She entered and sat near his desk. For several seconds, she said nothing. Daniel looked confused. His mother looked around the room. The football boots in the corner. The unopened sketchbook. The child sitting in front of her. Then she spoke. Daniel, I've noticed something. What? You haven't really been yourself lately. I'm fine. I know you keep saying that. Daniel looked away. I'm not here to force you to talk. I just want you to know that I noticed. You used to come home and tell me everything. Daniel remains quiet. I don't know exactly what happened. And you don't have to tell me everything immediately. Daniel slowly looks at her. But I want you to know something. Whatever you're going through, you don't have to go through it alone. Daniel's expression changes. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to be angry. If someone has hurt you, embarrassed you, frightened you, or made you feel like you can't talk about it. She pauses. You can tell me when you're ready. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. For weeks, he had been trying not to cry. Trying not to show anyone that the words had hurt him. Trying to carry everything by himself. His mother did not demand an explanation. She did not rush him. She simply stayed. I didn't know how to tell you. That's okay. They're going to think I'm weak. Who? Daniel hesitates. Some people at school. His mother waits. They've been saying things. What kind of things? About me. Daniel wipes his face. They posted something too. His mother's expression changes, but she remains calm. Take your time. Daniel began telling her everything. The jokes. The comments. The photograph. The messages. Why he stopped playing football. Why he stopped drawing. Why he stayed in his room. why he stopped talking. Then he said something his mother would never forget. I thought maybe if I stopped doing things, they wouldn't have anything else to laugh about. Daniel, look at me. He slowly looks toward her. What they did to you does not decide who you are. Daniel begins crying. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? I don't know. You have nothing to apologize for. Daniel takes a breath. I've been really sad. Thank you for telling me. I was scared. I understand. What are you going to do? Daniel was afraid that everything would suddenly be taken out of his hands. So his mother gave him something important. A sense that he would be part of what happened next. We're going to figure it out together. You're not going to tell everyone? No. We will speak to the people who need to know, and we will decide the next steps together. She squeezes his hand. But first, you need to know something. You are not carrying this by yourself anymore. Healing did not happen in one night. The next morning was still difficult. School was still school. The messages had still happened. Daniel still felt embarrassed. Sometimes angry. Sometimes afraid. Sometimes unsure of himself. But something important had changed. He was no longer facing it alone. His parents worked with the school. They documented the incidents. They saved the messages. They spoke with the adults responsible for protecting students. Most importantly, they continued talking with Daniel. Not about him. With him. His mother also changed the way she checked in. Instead of only asking, "How was school?" she sometimes asked, "What was the hardest part of today?" Or, "Did anything happen today that bothered you?" Or, "Do you want advice, or do you just want me to listen?" Sometimes Daniel talked. Sometimes he didn't. Sometimes they sat together without saying much at all. And that was okay. Because connection does not always require a long conversation. Sometimes being available is enough to remind a child that when they are ready, someone will listen. Days later, Daniel's mother walked past his room. This time, the door was open. She heard something she had not heard for weeks. The scratching sound of a pencil moving across paper. She stopped. Daniel was sitting at his desk. His sketchbook was open. "Are you drawing again?" Daniel looks up. A small smile appears. "Yeah. What are you drawing?" Daniel turns the sketchbook around. "A new superhero. What's his name?" Daniel looks at the drawing. "I haven't decided yet." His mother smiles. "I suppose I'm going to hear the whole story when you do." Daniel laughs softly. Probably. It was only a small laugh. But to his mother, it sounded enormous. Daniel had not suddenly returned to who he was before. Healing takes time. But his voice was returning. Slowly. A quiet child is not always a child who has nothing to say. Sometimes silence means, "I am overwhelmed." Sometimes silence means, "I am scared." Sometimes silence means, "I don't know how to explain what I'm feeling." Sometimes silence means, "I've been trying to handle this alone." And sometimes silence is a request for help that has never been spoken aloud. Parents cannot prevent every difficult experience their children will face. They cannot be present in every classroom, every friendship, every conversation, every group chat, every moment. But they can create a home where children know they have somewhere safe to return. A place where difficult conversations are allowed. A place where feelings are not mocked. A place where asking for help is not considered weakness. A place where a child knows, if something happens to me, I can tell someone. So when a child who once talked constantly suddenly becomes quiet, pay attention. When they stop enjoying things they once loved, pay attention. When they isolate themselves, pay attention. When fine becomes the answer to every question, listen beyond the word. Do not only ask, "What's wrong with you?" Ask, "How have you been feeling lately?" Ask, "Is something bothering you?" Ask, "Did something happen that you don't know how to talk about?" Ask, "Do you want advice, or do you just want me to listen?" And sometimes, do not ask anything. Sit beside them. Create space. Let them know, "I'm here. You can tell me when you're ready." You do not have to face this alone. Because children do not always need adults who immediately know how to solve the problem. Sometimes they need adults who are willing to listen long enough to understand it. Every child has a story. Some stories are told through laughter. Some through excitement. Some through anger. Some through changes in behavior. And some stories are told through silence. The question is whether someone is paying enough attention to hear them. Because every child deserves to feel safe. Every child deserves